Two girls kept their mother's last photo as a forbidden treasure. Then, in a cruel act, the stepmother destroys the image before them, crushing it with her heel. But the millionaire father returns unannounced, and what he sees makes him scream like never before. Before listening to this incredible story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting tales. The mist covered the coastline like a silent cloak on that autumn morning. An elegant house with modern architecture and large windows stood alone on the cliffs overlooking the sea. It was there that Victor Alliance, a career diplomat respected in international circles, kept his private retreat when he was not on missions around the world. The waves crashed forcefully against the rocks below as he adjusted his impeccable tie in front of the mirror. His tired eyes reflected the weight of responsibilities and absences. Victor was a man of few words, calculated gestures and restrained emotions. The graying hair at his temples and the fine lines around his eyes revealed not only the passage of time, but also the burden he carried since Helena's departure 2 years ago. In the next room, Olivia and Chiara, his 7-year-old twin daughters, shared the silence that had become their common language. Identical in their delicate features that reminded Victor of their absent mother, they differed only in the small details that Victor, in his constant distance, could barely distinguish. Olivia, minutes older, had a more inquisitive look. Chiara, in turn, kept a hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth that rarely fully appeared. "Girls, I'm leaving," Victor announced from the doorway, without actually entering the room where his daughters were arranging identical dolls in a wordless game. "Anna will look after you. Behave yourselves." The little girls looked up simultaneously in one of those mirrored gestures that always caused Victor an inexplicable discomfort. There was no verbal response, only a slight nod that could mean understanding or resignation. Victor didn't wait to find out. In his meticulously organized life, emotions were unnecessary complications. Downstairs, Anna Lehman, his wife of 8 months, waited with a perfectly calculated smile. Tall, elegant, with her dark hair always styled in an impeccable bun, she represented for Victor the promise of a new order, a structure that would replace the emotional chaos left by Helena's absence. "Your coffee is ready." "Darling," she said, handing him the Italian leather briefcase containing confidential documents. "I called Marco and confirmed your flight. You have that meeting in Geneva early tomorrow morning, don't forget." Victor nodded, admiring Anna's efficiency for the first time. That was what had initially attracted him, her ability to organize, predict, and control. Nothing like the tempestuous and unpredictable love he had shared with Helena, made of unexpected laughter and inexplicable tears. "I'll be away for 2 weeks. The girls have an appointment next Thursday with Dr. Luca." "It's already on my schedule," Anna replied promptly, her fingers briefly caressing Victor's arm in a gesture that mimicked intimacy. "Don't worry about anything here. You know I can take care of everything." When the official car pulled up in front of the house, Victor cast one last glance at the upstairs windows. For a moment, he glimpsed the twin faces watching him leave, 2 small identical shadows behind the fogged glass. An uneasy feeling settled in his chest, but he pushed it away with the practice of someone who deals with emotions as if they were unwanted documents, filing them away somewhere remote in his consciousness. The driver opened the door, and Victor got in without looking back, while the automatic gate slowly closed. Inside the house, Anna watched the car disappear around the bend in the coastal road. Her smile vanished instantly, like a discarded mask. Her shoulders, once perfectly straight, relaxed into a more natural posture, revealing the constant tension she maintained in her husband's presence. "Finally," she murmured to herself, climbing the stairs with firm steps that echoed through the silent hallway. In the twins' room, Olivia and Chiara had abandoned their dolls and were now sitting on the bed, facing each other, their small hands joined in a gesture that seemed part of some secret ritual. Between them, on the light blue duvet, lay a worn photograph of Helena smiling, its corners crumpled from being held and hidden away so often. The door opened without warning. Anna stopped in the doorway, her gaze immediately fixing on the photograph. The girls didn't move, didn't try to hide the image, only looked at their stepmother with identical, unreadable expressions. "What did I say about that?" Anna's voice was controlled, almost soft, but it carried a tone that made the twins instinctively squeeze each other's hands tighter. This house has rules now, and the main one is to look forward, not back. Anna lunged forward with feline movements and grabbed the photograph. The girls watched silently as she tore the image into small pieces and placed them in the pocket of her impeccably pressed dress. Now come downstairs. The coffee is ready, and you have homework to finish before you go to school. When the stepmother left, closing the door with a soft click, Olivia and Chiara remained motionless for a moment. Then, in a synchronized movement that would have seemed terrifying if they could see each other from the outside, they both bent down and, from under the mattress, retrieved another copy of the same photograph, identical to the one that had just been destroyed. In the well-tended garden, the white roses, Helena's favorites, swayed in the sea breeze, their fragile petals resisting the salty mist, like a last vestige of beauty in an increasingly hostile environment. Like the twins, they persisted, silent and resilient. And so began another day at the house by the sea, where the silent drama of a fragmented family unfolded, like the incessant waves crashing against the rocks below, constant, erosive and seemingly inevitable. The phone rang 3 times before Victor answered. On the other end of the line, the school coordinator's voice sounded worried, but he could barely concentrate on the words that came through, interrupted by the poor connection. "Mr. Alliance, we are concerned. Withdrawn behavior. Disturbing drawings. The twins don't speak to anyone but themselves." Victor gazed out the window of the luxury hotel at the lake, reflecting the Swiss mountains. The bilateral meeting had run longer than expected, and his mind was already wandering through the topics he would need to address in the afternoon session. "Is my wife aware of the situation?" he asked, checking the time on his wristwatch. "Yes, we spoke with Mrs. Anna yesterday. She mentioned that the girls are receiving psychological treatment from Dr. Luca, and that—" "So it's being dealt with," Victor interrupted. "I trust my wife's ability to handle these matters. If you'll excuse me, I have a conference call in 5 minutes." As he hung up, a nagging feeling lingered. Since when had his daughters been making disturbing drawings? What exactly did that mean? Victor opened his leather briefcase, searching for notes for the next meeting, when a small piece of paper fell onto the beige carpet of the room. A note written in uneven, childish handwriting simply said, "She doesn't let us remember Mum." Victor frowned. When had that been placed among his documents? The girls barely approached his work belongings. He turned the paper over and found another message. "Find me." The sound of the telephone interrupted his thoughts. It was Marco Salin, his colleague from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. "Victor, everyone is waiting for you in the conference room." "I'm going," he replied, putting the note in his jacket pocket. Throughout the meeting, while negotiating trade agreements and discussing clauses of international treaties, the note seemed to burn in his pocket. Victor was known for his unwavering focus, but that afternoon, for the first time in years, his mind wandered away from diplomacy. Meanwhile, miles away on the Brazilian coast, Anna led the twins through the garden of their house. The day was surprisingly sunny, the usual mist dissipated by a stronger breeze. "Today we're going to reorganize the garden," she announced, handing Olivia a pair of gardening shears. "These white roses are taking up too much space. I want to plant orchids here." Chiara looked at her sister, a silent communication passing between them. "These were Mom's favorites," Chiara murmured, so softly that she could barely be heard over the sound of the sea. Anna turned slowly, her face a mask of forced patience. "Your mother is no longer here, dear. We need to accept change. It's part of life." "Now, Olivia, please cut the roses at the base." Olivia remained motionless, the scissors dangling uselessly in her small hand. "I don't want to," he said, with unexpected firmness. Anna's smile froze. "Olivia, that wasn't a request." "They're Mom's roses," Olivia repeated, as if that explained everything. Anna took a deep breath, approached, and took the scissors from the girl's hands. "I'll show you how it's done," she said in a controlled voice, cutting the first rose with a swift blow. "Now you two, 1 rose each." Faced with the twins' silent refusal, Anna smiled coldly. "That's fine. If you don't want to participate, you can observe. But every rose I cut means a day without dessert. And believe me, there are many roses in this garden." By the end of that afternoon, the flower bed that Helena had cultivated with such care was reduced to cut stems. Anna ordered the twins to gather the flowers and throw them in the trash. Now off to your room. No dinner tonight. You need to learn that in this house there are consequences for disobedience. When she found herself alone, Anna opened an old wooden trunk in Victor's office. It was where he kept Helena's mementos. Letters, a silk scarf with her perfume still lingering, small souvenirs from shared trips. With methodical movements, Anna gathered everything and transferred it to a cardboard box. She hesitated before a photo album, but ended up including it as well. The box was locked in the basement, along with other unwanted relics from the past. In the twins' room, Olivia and Chiara sat on the floor, back to back, drawing silently. The drawings were identical, a woman with long hair surrounded by white roses with a gentle smile. Hearing footsteps in the hallway, they quickly hid the papers under the rug. The following morning, Dr. Luca Carmin arrived for the weekly session with the girls. Anna greeted him with her usual forced smile. "Doctor, I'm very worried," she began, serving tea in fine porcelain cups. "The twins are becoming increasingly rebellious. They refuse to follow the most basic rules and live in a world of their own." The doctor, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, nodded thoughtfully. "It's common in children who have experienced trauma. They build an inner world as a refuge. But it's been 2 years already," Anna argued, leaning forward with a studied expression of concern. "Victor is always traveling, so it falls to me to create a structure for them. And I confess I'm at my limit." "I understand," the doctor replied. "Where are the girls now?" "In their room. They rarely leave it when they're not at school." Dr. Luca went upstairs alone, as was his custom. He preferred to talk to the twins without Anna present, something she accepted with barely disguised reluctance. He found Olivia and Chiara sitting on their beds, like mirror images of each other. "Hello, girls," he greeted in a calm voice. "How are you today?" Silence. Identical eyes watched him with the same indecipherable expression. "I heard you had a problem with the roses in your garden." Chiara looked at Olivia, who gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. "She cut them all down," Chiara finally said. "It was Mom's garden." "And she threw away the picture of her mom," Olivia added. The doctor frowned but maintained a neutral expression. "I understand that you miss your mother. It's normal. She wants us to forget," Olivia continued. "But we won't forget." "Never," Chiara concluded. Luca watched as the twins, in perfect synchronicity, retrieved a crumpled photograph of Helena from under the pillow. The same image that, according to Anna, had been discarded. "Have you talked to your father about this?" Again silence. Then Olivia spoke. "Dad is never here. And when she's around, she doesn't let us be alone with him," Chiara added. The doctor made some notes. There was something unsettling about the dynamics of that house that went beyond unprocessed grief. The weekly appointments had been requested by Anna, not Victor, and always with the justification that the twins needed to overcome the past and adapt to the new reality. "Would you mind drawing something for me today? Draw how you feel in this house." While the girls drew, Luca watched the devastated garden through the window. The once abundant white roses had been completely removed, leaving an empty, barren space awaiting new plants. Just like the house, which seemed to wait for a new story to replace the old one. But some stories, Luca thought, refused to be erased. They persist in the margins, in the shadows, in children's drawings, and in the identical gazes of 2 children who clung to memories as a last refuge. The conference in Geneva extended for 3 more days than planned. Victor, accustomed to long absences, maintained minimal contact with his family. A brief evening call, objective questions about the domestic routine, rarely speaking directly to his daughters. Last night, however, Marco insisted they have dinner together at the hotel restaurant. There was something in his colleague's expression that alerted Victor, a concern that transcended professional matters. "We need to talk," Marco said after the waiter served the wine. "About your family," Victor raised an eyebrow. "Since when is my personal life a topic of conversation?" Marco sighed uncomfortably. "We received an anonymous letter in the office, addressed to you with the embassy stamps." He hesitated before continuing. "Normally I wouldn't interfere, but the content worried me. They are not safe. That's all. No sender, no context." Victor felt his stomach clench. The words from the note he'd found in his briefcase echoed in his mind. "It could be nothing," Marco continued, observing his friend's reaction. Perhaps some political rival trying to destabilize him. Maybe, Victor replied mechanically, his gaze fixed on the red wine reflecting off the restaurant lights. Marco leaned forward, lowering his voice. Are you all right, Victor? I've noticed you've been distracted lately, ever since you married Anna. I'm fine, Victor interrupted more abruptly than he intended. Just tired. This negotiation has drained all my energy. Marco didn't insist, but before they said goodbye in the elevator, he put his hand on his colleague's shoulder. You know you can count on me, right? For anything. Alone in his room, Victor picked up his cell phone and, contrary to his habit of only calling at predetermined times, dialed home. It was almost 11 o'clock at night in Brazil. The girls would probably already be asleep. Anna answered the second ring. Victor, did something happen? I just wanted to know how everyone is doing. A brief pause. We're fine, naturally. I just put the girls to bed. Do you want to talk to them? The offer was unusual. Anna always argued that nighttime interruptions disrupted the twins' sleep. Yes, he replied, surprising himself. She heard Anna calling her daughters, her voice distant as if she had put the phone away. Then Olivia's voice identical to Chiara's. Daddy. Hello, dear. How are you? Fine. The monosyllabic response followed by silence. Victor realized he didn't know how to continue the conversation. What did he ask a 7-year-old he barely spoke to? How's school? Normal. And, are you all behaving well with Anna? A long pause. Then Chiara's voice replacing her sister's without warning. When are you coming back? There was urgency in that simple question. A veiled plea. In a few days, why? You're welcome. Another silence. Victor could feel something unspoken hanging between them, an abyss he didn't know how to cross. Do you want to tell me something? He ventured, remembering the note. The answer came in an almost inaudible whisper. We can't talk now. Before Victor could insist, Anna's voice returned. The girls are exhausted, dear. It was a busy day. The school coordinator called again, concerned about their behavior. But Dr. Luca believes we are making progress. Victor felt a growing unease. What kind of worrying behavior? Oh, nothing serious. Social isolation. Some strange drawings, the kind of thing that's common for kids who've been through what they've been through. I'm taking care of everything. After hanging up, Victor stayed awake, watching the city lights through the hotel window. The next day, he informed Marco that he needed to return to Brazil immediately. Did something happen? Family matters, he replied vaguely. Meanwhile, at the seaside house, Anna implemented new rules. The twins were separated. Olivia remained in the room they shared, while Chiara was moved to a small adjacent room, previously used as a pantry, with only a narrow window. It's temporary, Anna explained with feigned sweetness. You two together are creating unhealthy fantasies. Dr. Luca agrees that a little separation would do you good. That was a lie, of course. Luca had expressed concern about the strong bond between the twins, but he had never suggested physically separating them. That night, after Victor's call, Anna entered Chiara's new room with a tray of tea. We need to talk about what you and your sister can and cannot say to your father. The girl remained seated on the bed, her eyes fixed on the wall. Your father is a very busy man with important responsibilities. We can't burden him with petty domestic problems, you understand? Chiara didn't answer, but her gaze shifted to the teacup that Anna had placed on the bedside table. It's to help you sleep better, Anna explained. A calming tea. Drink it while it's hot. When she left, Chiara spilled the tea on the plant on the windowsill. The flower, a small geranium, had completely wilted the following morning. In the next room, Olivia waited until she heard Anna's footsteps receding down the hallway. Then she pulled a small pad of toilet paper and a piece of pencil from her sock. She wrote a brief message and slipped it through the gap under the door connecting the two rooms. Chiara picked up the paper and read it in the dim moonlight streaming through the narrow window. He's coming back. Hang in there. Across the ocean, Victor's plane took off for Brazil. During the flight, his mind revisited fragments of memory, the distant gaze of his daughters, Anna's relentless efficiency, the seaside house that had once been a refuge and now seemed strangely threatening. Between restless dreams, he saw himself again with Helena, walking through the garden of white roses. She was smiling, but there was worry in her eyes. You promised to take care of them, she said. her voice distorted as if on a long-distance phone call. "Oh, you promised, Victor." He woke with a start at the pilot's announcement of their approach to the Brazilian airport. The uneasy feeling persisted. Something was fundamentally wrong at home, and he had ignored the signs for too long. Upon landing, he didn't mention that he would arrive earlier than expected. He wanted to observe the family dynamic without the preparation that Anna would inevitably orchestrate. He rented a car at the airport and drove along the coastal road, the thick fog obscuring the headlights, the sound of the sea drawing ever closer, announcing that he was arriving home. It was early morning when he parked some distance from the property. The house was dark, except for a light upstairs, Anna's office. Victor used his key to open the gate, which creaked slightly. Inside the silent house, she climbed the stairs, avoiding the steps she knew creaked. In the hallway, she noticed something strange. The door leading to the girls' room was locked from the outside, a key in the lock. She unlocked it silently and opened the door. The moonlight revealed Olivia, sleeping alone in the bed she had previously shared with her sister. Where was Chiara? A second door, which had previously led to a cupboard or pantry, was ajar. Victor approached and saw Chiara huddled on an improvised bed, the space around her devoid of any comfort or personality. Why had the twins been separated? Anna had never mentioned this change in their conversations. A sound from the hallway alerted him. Victor retreated into the shadows as Anna passed by, heading towards the master bedroom. He waited a few minutes before approaching Chiara. "Darling," she called softly, touching her daughter's shoulder. The girl woke up instantly, as if she had been sleeping in a constant state of alert. Her eyes widened as she recognized him. "Daddy!" she exclaimed, hugging him with surprising force for someone so small. "Why are you sleeping here?" he asked, keeping his voice low. "Anna said we needed to be apart, that it's not normal for us to be so close." Victor felt a wave of indignation. "Since when?" "Titan, after you called. She got angry because Olivia said we needed to talk to you." At that moment, Olivia appeared in the doorway, her eyes reflecting the same relief found in Chiara's. "You received my note," she murmured. "Was it you who put that in my folder?" Olivia nodded. "I asked Aunt Rose to put it there when she came to visit. Anna doesn't know." Rose, the former nanny who had cared for the girls from birth until Anna's arrival. Victor had lost contact with her after his remarriage. "Girls, I need to understand what's going on here," Victor said, sitting up on the narrow bed. "What has Anna been doing?" The twins exchanged glances, a silent conversation that always disconcerted him. "She doesn't like Mommy," Chiara finally said. "She throws away everything that reminds her of herself," Olivia added. "The photos, the clothes, the gifts, and the roses. She cut all the white roses from the garden." Victor felt his heart clench. The white roses cultivated by Helena since they bought the house were her signature, her living legacy. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "We tried," Olivia replied, her small voice carrying an accusation that hit Victor like a physical blow. "But you're never here. And when she's around, she doesn't let us be alone with you," Chiara added. Victor realized with painful clarity the extent of his failure. While immersed in his work, seeking to escape the void left by Helena, he had abandoned his daughters to the mercy of a woman who, he now realized, was a complete stranger. "This will end today," he promised, embracing them both. "We'll pack your things." The sound of footsteps in the hallway made the three of them freeze. The door swung open, revealing Anna, her face a mask of surprise quickly replaced by a controlled expression. "Victor, we weren't expecting you so soon." His eyes took in the scene, the twins clinging to their father, Chiara's makeshift room laid out for him to see. "Can we talk in private?" she suggested, her tone deceptively calm. "The girls should be asleep." Victor stood up but kept his daughters close. "No," he replied, his voice calm but firm. "I think we've had enough private conversations already. Anna, it's time for the four of us to speak frankly about what happens in this house when I'm away." Anna's smile faltered, revealing for a moment the underlying anger that the twins knew all too well. "Victor, you don't understand. The girls need structure, they need rules. Losing Helena was traumatic, but they can't live in the past forever. And is it your role to decide when and how they should overcome the loss of their mother?" Victor questioned, his voice hardening. "By separating them? Locking them in different rooms? Destroying Helena's memories?" The inevitable confrontation had begun, and in the silence of the seaside house, where the only sound was that of the waves crashing against the rocks, a fragmented family finally faced the truth they had avoided for so long. The ensuing confrontation was restrained, as befitted a diplomat trained to negotiate in high-tension situations. There were no shouts or uncontrolled accusations, only precise words, laden with a cold anger that made the atmosphere even more suffocating. "You have no idea what it's like to raise two traumatized children alone," Anna argued, maintaining her composure despite her eyes blazing with fury. "While you travel the world in luxury hotels, I deal with nightmares, their refusal to adapt, and the silence that excludes anyone who isn't them." Victor looked at his daughters, who stood close to each other, watching the exchange with identical expressions of apprehension. "Girls, can you go to Olivia's room for a few minutes? I need to talk to Anna." The twins hesitated, communicating in their usual silence. "I'm not going anywhere," Victor assured, understanding the implicit fear. "I'll be here when they return." When the girls left, closing the door behind them, Anna's face subtly transformed. The veneer of maternal concern gave way to something harder, more calculating. "You've always been so naive," she said, crossing her arms. "Do you think they're just two innocent children?" "They're manipulative, Victor. They tell stories, they invent situations. Dr. Luca even suggested that one of them might have pathological tendencies." "That's a lie," Victor retorted calmly. "I spoke with Luca 3 days ago. He is concerned, yes, but about the atmosphere in this house, not about the girls." For a brief moment, surprise appeared on Anna's face. She hadn't expected Victor to have contacted the doctor without her knowledge. "You don't understand," he insisted, changing tactics. "I'm trying to help them overcome the past. Helena passed away 2 years ago, Victor. You yourself moved on, married me. Why should they remain trapped by memories?" "There's a difference between moving on and erasing the past," Victor replied, his voice firming. "You destroyed Helena's roses. You hid her photographs. You separated my daughters. Why, Anna? What do you gain from this?" The silence that followed was tense, heavy with unspoken truths. Finally, Anna smiled, a cold smile that never reached her eyes. "Isn't it obvious? I want to be the only woman in this house. The only wife, the only mother, the only female presence that matters. Helena is dead, Victor. Dead. But as long as you and the twins continue to venerate her memory, she will never truly go away." The starkness of that confession hit Victor like a physical blow. For months he had ignored the signs, convincing himself that Anna was merely strict, simply determined to establish a new family order. Now he saw clearly. The problem had never been discipline or structure. It was possessiveness, jealousy of a woman who was no longer there. "I want you out of this house by dawn," he said, his voice low but unwavering. "You can't be serious." Anna's face hardened. "I'm your wife, and they are my daughters. Daughters that you deliberately tried to keep away from me and from the memories of their mother. Think about your career, Victor. Such a quick divorce, after an equally brief period of mourning. How will that look to your superiors, to your fellow diplomats?" It was a veiled threat, and they both knew it. Reputation was everything in diplomatic circles. Personal scandals could destroy meticulously built careers. "I don't care," he replied simply. Anna laughed, a sound devoid of humor. "Of course he cares. It's all you have, Victor. Your precious work, your international missions. Without it, what's left? A widower with 2 troubled daughters he barely knows how to raise." The words hit their mark, but Victor showed no reaction. Years of international negotiations had taught him not to reveal vulnerabilities. "My decision is made, Anna. You can leave of your own accord, or I can obtain a court order. The choice is yours." For a moment, Anna's face contorted into an expression of pure hatred. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the mask of control returned. "You're going to regret this," she said calmly, heading for the door. "More than you can imagine." In the hallway, the twins watched through the crack of the half-open door. When Anna left the room, they instinctively recoiled, but they weren't quick enough. Anna saw them and stopped, looking at them with a coldness that made Olivia take Chiara's hand. "Enjoy your victory, you little manipulators," he murmured, leaning in so only they could hear. "This isn't over." He passed them without another glance and went to the master bedroom, closing the door with a soft click that somehow sounded more menacing than a knock. Victor found his daughters standing in the hallway, their identical eyes wide open. "Everything is all right now," he assured them, kneeling down to be at their level. "Anna is leaving and the three of us will start over." The twins did not respond immediately, still processing the sudden change in their situation. "Is she really going to leave?" Chiara finally asked, her voice almost inaudible. "Yes," Victor assured him, "tomorrow." "And you're going to stay?" Olivia asked, the fear of another abandonment evident in her eyes. Victor felt the weight of that question, a just accusation wrapped in childish words. How long had he been absent? Not just physically, but emotionally. "I'll stay," he promised. "No more traveling for a while. We'll figure this out together." The twins exchanged glances, a silent communication that always intrigued him. "Can we sleep together tonight?" Chiara asked. "Of course," Victor replied, realizing how traumatic the forced separation must have been. As the girls settled into Olivia's bed, Victor remained seated on the edge, watching them fall asleep. Their faces, so similar to Helena's, gradually relaxed in their sleep. How had he allowed it to come to this? How had he not noticed what was happening in his own home? The answer was simple and painful. He had chosen not to see. He had immersed himself in work to avoid grief, delegating the upbringing of his daughters first to nannies, then to a wife he barely knew, all to avoid facing the void left by Helena. She spent the night in an armchair in the girls' room, watching them sleep, fearing that if she left, something might happen. From time to time she heard movements in the master bedroom, Anna packing her things, getting ready to leave. As the sun began to rise on the horizon, tinging the sea with gold, Victor got up and went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. A simple gesture of parental care that he rarely performed. Anna appeared in the kitchen doorway, a small suitcase in her hand, dressed with her usual elegance, as if she were leaving for a social engagement and not being kicked out of her house. "I called a taxi," he informed her, his voice controlled. "I'll send someone to pick up the rest of my belongings." Victor nodded without taking his eyes off the pancakes he was preparing. "Do you really believe you can make this work?" Anna asked, a hint of derision in her voice. "Being a full-time father to 2 children you barely know?" "I'll learn," he replied simply. Anna laughed, a soft and cruel sound. "When you fail, and you will fail—" "Victor, don't say I didn't warn you." The sound of the taxi horn interrupted the conversation. Anna straightened her posture, as if preparing to enter the scene. "See you soon, darling," she said with artificial sweetness. "Give my regards to the girls." After she left, Victor felt a weight being lifted from the house, as if the very air had become more breathable. He heard light footsteps on the stairs, and turned to see the twins standing in the kitchen doorway, still in their pajamas, watching him with uncertain expressions. "She left?" Chiara asked. "He was." The girls exchanged glances, then slowly approached each other, like wild animals testing new territory. "You made pancakes," Olivia observed, a slight smile playing on her lips. "I tried," Victor admitted, looking at the irregular shapes in the frying pan. "I'm not sure if they're edible." To his surprise, Chiara laughed, a crystal-clear sound he hadn't heard in so long he almost didn't recognize it. "Mom didn't know how to make pancakes either," she said. "They always stuck to the pan." "That's true," Victor agreed, the memory surfacing with unexpected clarity. "She always ended up turning everything into a sort of pancake mush." The three laughed together, and for a brief moment, the shadow that hung over the house seemed to dissipate. But as they ate their makeshift breakfast, Victor couldn't help but think of Anna's final words. "See you soon, darling." It wasn't a goodbye, it was a promise, and something in her tone made Victor feel that the battle was far from over. In the taxi, pulling away along the coastal road, Anna watched the house disappear around the bend. Her face, now free from the need to maintain appearances, revealed a cold determination. She picked up the phone and dialed a number she knew by heart. "Theo? Yes, Anna. I need your help with a sensitive matter." The fog was beginning to dissipate over the sea, revealing a surprisingly clear sky. In the house by the sea, father and daughters shared a moment of peace that they all instinctively knew was merely the calm before the storm. The first few days after Anna's departure were strange, as if the house was relearning how to breathe. Victor requested a temporary leave of absence from the ministry, citing urgent family matters, something he had never done before. Marco Salon, his closest colleague, showed genuine concern. "Do you need anything, Victor? Is there anything I can help you with?" "For now, I just need time," she replied, while organizing her desk in her home office, transferring video calls and responding to urgent emails. The twins, initially cautious, gradually began to relax. The silence persisted, but it was now punctuated by moments of conversation, occasional laughter, and small confessions. "She would put things in our tea," Chiara revealed during breakfast 3 days after Anna's departure. "Something that made us very sleepy." Victor felt a chill. "How do you know that?" "I poured it on the plants. They died afterwards." The revelation was followed by others. The punishments for mentioning Helena, the hidden objects, the veiled threats. Victor listened, torn between horror and guilt, wondering how he hadn't noticed what was happening under his own roof. On the 4th day, Rose, the former nanny, appeared at the door, her round face etched with worry. "I received your message," she said, hugging Victor briefly before kneeling to receive the twins, who ran to her with an excitement they hadn't shown in a long time. "My little ones, I missed you so much." While the girls showed Rose the drawings they had made in the last few days, Victor observed the interaction, noting the natural way the nanny communicated with them, understanding their gestures and half-words, as he never had been able to. "Thank you for coming," she said, as the twins went upstairs to get more drawings, "and for helping Olivia put that note in my folder. If it weren't for that—" Rose shook her head, her brown eyes serious. "I tried to warn you about Anna from the beginning, sir. There was something wrong with the way she looked at the girls, not with love, but as if they were obstacles." "Why didn't you insist?" Victor asked more to himself than to Rose. "I insisted 3 times. On the 4th, I was fired." Her gaze held a silent accusation that Victor knew she deserved. "Anna said I was feeding fantasies to the twins, that I was too attached to Helena." Victor ran his hand through his hair, a rare gesture of disarray in someone who was usually so composed. "I failed them, didn't I?" Rose softened her expression. "The important thing is that you're here now. But you need to understand, sir, the girls have been through a lot. It won't be easy to regain their trust." "I'll try," he promised. "Would you consider coming back to help with the transition?" The relief on Rose's face was evident. "I thought you'd never ask." With Rose's return, the house gradually found a new rhythm. Mealtimes became moments of reconnection. Victor discovered that Olivia enjoyed drawing, while Chiara preferred stories. They both loved the sea, something he had never really noticed before. 2 weeks passed without news of Anna. Victor began to relax, allowing himself to believe that perhaps she had given up, accepted the separation. That's when the first blow came. A call from Marco. On a particularly sunny Thursday afternoon. "Victor, have you seen what's circulating online?" "What are you talking about?" An uncomfortable silence. "There's a video of you and Anna. It looks edited, but it's causing quite a stir in the department." Victor felt his stomach clench. "What video?" "You'd better see for yourself. I'm sending the link." "And Victor, get ready. It's not good." The video was short, less than a minute. It showed Victor apparently yelling at Anna at the gate of the house while she cried. His face, distorted by anger, was unmistakably recognizable. The caption read, "Brazilian diplomat accused of psychological abuse and child neglect." Victor watched it 3 times, recognizing the scene. It was the day of his last departure for Geneva, 2 weeks before the final confrontation with Anna. But the scene had been manipulated, the sound removed, the context altered. His expression of concern transformed into fury through strategic cuts. "This is false," he murmured to himself. Even knowing that denial would be difficult, it was his face, it was his house, it was Anna crying. The true context, a discussion about the return time of his trip, had been completely distorted. The phone rang again. This time it was his direct superior at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. "Allianz, we need to talk about this video that's circulating. The ministry's image is being affected." "Sir, may I explain?" "Not by phone. Tomorrow in my office at 9. "And Victor, I suggest you bring your lawyer." When he hung up, Victor remained motionless, trying to process how quickly his life was falling apart. From the kitchen doorway, Rose watched him with a worried expression. "Problems?" "Anna," he replied simply. "She started it." That night, while the girls slept, Victor and Rose discussed strategies on the balcony, the sound of the waves creating a constant soundtrack to their growing worry. "Does she want the girls?" Rose asked, getting straight to the point. Victor shook his head. "No, Anna never really wanted to be a mother. She wants to destroy me. And she knows the best way to do that is through them. We need proof of what she did," Rose reflected. "The girls' drawings, the testimonies, against a video that clearly shows an abusive man." Victor laughed humorlessly. "Public opinion is already made up, Rose, and Anna knows exactly what she's doing." As if to confirm his words, Victor's cell phone vibrated with a message notification. "Anna, this is just the beginning, darling. You humiliated me, now it's my turn." The meeting at the ministry the following morning was tense. Victor explained the situation, Anna's behavior with the twins, the separation, the revenge she was now orchestrating. His superior, a grey-haired man who had served as ambassador on 3 continents, listened in silence. "I believe you, Victor," she finally said. "I know your character. But understand, this isn't about truth, it's about perception. And the perception at this moment is that one of our most senior diplomats is involved in a domestic scandal." "What does that mean exactly?" "It means administrative leave, with pay but removed from public duties until this is clarified." Victor nodded, resigned. That was exactly what Anna wanted, to isolate him professionally, to attack his meticulously constructed reputation. Upon returning home, he found 2 journalists waiting at the gate. He ignored their questions and rushed inside, only to find Rose in a panic in the living room. The school called. Anna showed up demanding to see the girls. "She doesn't have permission to do that," Victor replied, grabbing the car keys. The coordinator denied access, but Anna made a scene. "She said she was their mother, that you were preventing her from seeing them after a domestic violence incident." Victor had never driven so fast. When he arrived at the school, he found the coordinator, a middle-aged woman named Agnes, visibly shaken. "Mr. Alliance, I apologize for the inconvenience." Miss Anna was very upset. "Did the girls see her?" "No, thank God. They were in physical education class when she arrived." Victor breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you for not allowing contact. Anna and I are separated, and there's a complicated situation involving the girls." Agnes nodded understandingly. "I noticed something was wrong in the last few months. The twins have changed a lot since she came into their lives. They've become undistant. Like this? Before they were reserved, but they participated. They had friends, handed in colorful artwork and smiled. Then it was as if a light went out. Their drawings became somber, and they stopped interacting with other children." The external confirmation of what Victor already suspected was like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just his perception. The damage Anna had caused was real, observable, documented. "I need to take the girls home now." Agnes hesitated. "Mr. Alliance, if I may, the school has excellent psychologists. Perhaps the girls could speak with one of them. It would help document what happened in case there are legal repercussions." Victor recognized the wisdom in that advice. "Thank you, Agnes. I will seriously consider it." When they returned home, Olivia and Chiara were unusually quiet, even by their standards. In the car, Victor tried to find out what they knew. "Did something different happen at school today?" The twins exchanged glances. "We saw Anna," Chiara finally said, "from the gym classroom window." "She didn't see you," Victor quickly assured them. "But we saw her," Olivia replied. "She was yelling at Principal Agnes." Victor sighed. "Anna is upset about our separation. Sometimes when adults separate, things get complicated. Is she going to take us away?" Chiara's voice was almost inaudible. "No," Victor asserted firmly, surprising even himself. "I will never allow that." That night, while the girls slept under Rose's watchful eye, Victor received a call from his lawyer. "Victor, we've received a notification. Anna is filing for custody of the twins, citing an unstable home environment." Victor closed his eyes, trying to contain the anger that threatened to overflow. She never cared about the girls. "This is just revenge, I know, but she's playing it well. The video, the public appearances crying, the accusations that you prevented her from seeing the children. She's building a narrative. And how do we fight it? With the truth. We need proof of what she did. Witnesses, physical evidence, anything." After hanging up, Victor walked to the beach, needing the fresh air to clear his thoughts. The moon reflected on the ocean, creating a silvery path over the dark waters. Helena loved walking on the beach on nights like this. She said it was when the sea revealed its secrets. "What do I do, Helena?" she murmured to the wind. "How do I protect our daughters?" No answer came, only the steady sound of waves crashing on the sand. But as she watched the house in the distance, the soft lights, the shadows cast against the windows, a determination grew in her chest. Anna could attack her career, her reputation, everything she had built professionally. But the girls? No. They had already lost a mother. They wouldn't lose their father, too. Returning home, he found Rose on the porch waiting for him. "Are the girls all right?" he asked, concerned by the nanny's serious expression. "Sleeping peacefully. But I found something you need to see." Rose led him to the office and handed him a small USB device. "I was checking Anna's things that are still in the guest room. I found this hidden in a false drawer in the bedside table." Victor connected the device to the computer. It contained dozens of video files, all from the house from different angles. "Hidden cameras," he murmured, feeling a shiver run down his spine. She was filming us. The videos revealed scenes from their daily routine. Victor leaving for work, the girls playing, Rose preparing dinner. But they also showed something far more disturbing. Anna systematically tormenting the twins when no one was looking. Video after video showed small cruelties, disproportionate punishments, subtle psychological manipulation. "My God," Victor murmured, watching Anna lock Chiara in the closet for mentioning Helena during dinner. "How could I not have noticed?" "She was careful," Rose replied, her face pale as the videos continued. "She always smiled when you came near. She always had a reasonable explanation." In another video, Anna methodically destroyed a drawing Olivia had made of Helena, then blamed the girl herself for the accident. "Why would she keep that?" Victor asked, perplexed. "It's evidence against herself." Rose shook her head, equally confused. "Maybe she'd like to watch it later, or maybe she planned to edit it, like she did with the video she released." Whatever the reason, those videos were the evidence they needed. Concrete, undeniable proof of the psychological abuse Anna had inflicted on the girls. Victor felt the weight on his shoulders lighten a little. There was hope. "I'm going to call my lawyer right now." Outside the house, hidden by the shadows of the coastal vegetation, Theo Carmin watched with binoculars. A cybersecurity specialist hired by Anna, he remotely monitored the cameras she had installed. When he saw Victor and Rose finding the videos, he picked up the phone. "Anna, we have a problem." They found the cameras. In the city, in a luxury apartment overlooking the sea, Anna Lehman smiled into the phone. "It doesn't matter, dear Theo. That was only phase 1. Phase 2 starts tomorrow." She hung up and turned her attention back to the computer, where she was finalizing an email to all of Victor's contacts in the diplomatic corps. Attached to the email was a compromising file she herself had fabricated, something that would completely destroy her ex-husband's professional credibility. The war had only just begun, and Anna planned to win at any cost. The following morning, Victor was awakened by the insistent ringing of his cell phone. It was his lawyer, Felipe Ollins, and given the time, 5:47 a.m., it couldn't be good news. "Victor, we need to talk immediately." "What happened?" "An email. Apparently sent from your personal address to the entire ministry. It contains documents indicating that you leaked confidential information during your last assignment in Geneva." Victor sat up in bed, fully awake now. "That's absurd. I would never do something like that, obviously. But the documents look convincing. Your digital signature is on them." "Anna," Victor murmured, running a hand over his face. "She must have accessed my emails while we were married." "Probably. The problem is that this is no longer just a marital dispute or custody of the girls. Now there are accusations of a crime against national security. The ministry has already forwarded the case for internal investigation." Victor felt the room spin slightly. Anna knew exactly where to attack: his professional integrity, the central pillar of his identity. "I can prove it's false," he said, trying to remain calm. "The original documents are on the ministry's secure servers." "Yes, but the investigation could take weeks. In the meantime..." "Meanwhile, I look guilty," Victor finished the sentence. "And Anna uses that in the custody battle." "Exactly. The judge will see a man potentially facing criminal charges. It's not the ideal scenario for someone who wants to retain custody of 2 children. After hanging up, Victor remained seated on the edge of the bed, trying to organize his thoughts. Anna had meticulously planned everything. First attack his personal reputation with the manipulated video, then his career with falsified documents. The next step would inevitably be the girls. He went downstairs to find Rose already awake, preparing coffee in the sunny kitchen. "You look like you haven't slept," she remarked, handing him a steaming cup. Anna struck again. This time she forged official documents. As he explained the situation, Victor observed the garden through the kitchen window. Where Helena's white roses had once grown, there was now only bare earth, waiting for new seeds. A disturbingly fitting metaphor for what was happening in his life. "We need to protect the girls," Rose said after hearing everything. "If Anna is willing to go this far, who knows what she'll try next?" As if in response to his concern, Victor's phone rang again. This time it was Marco. "Victor, I'm at your door. I need to go inside now." The urgency in his friend's voice was unmistakable. Victor ran to open the gate, finding Marco with a serious expression. What there was? "A court order," Marco explained, quickly entering, "to remove the girls from your custody, temporarily, while the allegations are investigated. They'll arrive in an hour." Victor felt his blood run cold. "How did you know?" "Agnes, the school coordinator, is my cousin. She was notified that the girls should not be handed over to you after class today." Rose appeared in the doorway, drawn by the tense voices. "We need to get them out of here," he said immediately, understanding the situation without needing detailed explanations. "And where would we go?" Victor asked. "It would be a kidnapping. It would make everything worse." Marco shook his head. "Not necessarily. The order is to remove the girls from a potentially dangerous environment during the investigation. But if you voluntarily place them in the care of someone you trust before the order is carried out." "Agnes," Rose suggested immediately. "The girls trust her, and she's already seen how Anna behaves." "It would be temporary," Marco emphasized, "only until we can prove Victor's innocence and Anna's manipulation." While they were arguing, they heard light footsteps on the stairs. Olivia and Chiara appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in their pajamas, their identical eyes watching the adults apprehensively. "What's going on?" Olivia asked, her small voice revealing that she had probably overheard part of the conversation. Victor knelt down to be at their level. "Girls, we need to talk about something important." Explaining the situation to 7-year-olds was a challenge. Victor opted for honest simplicity. "Anna is trying to break us up," he said, choosing his words carefully. "She's told some lies about me, and now some people believe you shouldn't be with me for a while." The twins' eyes filled with identical tears. "Will we have to go back to her?" Chiara asked, the fear palpable in her voice. "No, never," Victor assured them firmly. "But you will need to stay with Director Agnes for a few days, while we prove that Anna's stories are lies." The girls exchanged glances, communicating silently as they always did. "Can we bring our things?" Olivia asked pragmatically. "Of course," Rose replied, already moving to help them pack the essentials. While the girls went upstairs to get dressed and pack some belongings, Marco pulled Victor aside. "You mentioned videos. Evidence of Anna's behavior." "Yes, on the flash drive that Rose found. Dozens of recordings of her tormenting the girls. We need this material now. I'm going to take it directly to my lawyer, who is a friend of the judge who issued the court order. If we can get him to watch these videos today." Victor ran to the office and returned with the flash drive. "It's all here, including the original video she manipulated, showing the true context." Marco put the device in his pocket. "I'll take care of this personally. Trust me." In less than 30 minutes, everyone was in Marco's car. The twins were in the back seat, each with a small backpack containing the essentials, including the worn photograph of Helena that they had preserved against all of Anna's efforts. Agnes waited at the door of her house, a cozy apartment in the city's historic center. "They will be safe here," he assured them, hugging the girls. "I have experience with children for over 20 years." The farewell was brief and painful. Victor hugged his daughters tightly, fighting back the lump in his throat. "It's only for a few days," he promised. "Then we'll go back home and plant new roses in the garden." "White roses like the ones your mother loved? Promise?" Chiara asked, her eyes fixed on his. "I promise." And this time I won't let anyone hurt them again. When Victor and Marco left, leaving Rose with the girls and Agnes, the sun was already high in the sky. They had barely reached the main road when they saw 3 official cars driving in the opposite direction at high speed. "They're going to your house," Marco commented. We arrived in time. The next stop was at the office of Marco's lawyer, a family law specialist named Aaron Muller. Victor handed him the videos of Anna, explaining the context of each one, the systematic psychological manipulation that the recordings revealed. "This is disturbing," the lawyer commented after watching some excerpts. "Clearly evidence of psychological abuse against minors. And what about the accusations against me? The falsified documents, the manipulated video? If we can prove that Anna falsified evidence even once, her entire credibility will be called into question. The videos are an excellent start, but we need more." Aaron turned to Marco. "You mentioned a nanny who worked with the girls before and after Anna arrived. Can we get a formal statement from her?" "Rose is already prepared for this," Victor confirmed. "She witnessed the twins' transformation after Anna's arrival." "And the doctor who treated them?" "Dr. Luca Carmen. He also expressed concerns about Anna's influence." Aaron took quick notes. "Excellent. We're building a solid case. Now we need to deal with the issue of the forged documents." At that moment, Victor's phone rang. It was Felipe, his personal lawyer. Victor, the ministry's cybersecurity department, analyzed the documents' metadata. They were created 3 days ago, not on the date indicated in the header, and the originating IP address doesn't belong to any computer in the ministry. A glimmer of hope. "This proves they are forgeries." "Yes, but we still need to find out who created them. Full technical analysis will take a few days." "We don't have days off," Victor replied, frustration evident in his voice. "The girls are in hiding due to a court order right now." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Felipe spoke cautiously. "There's another option. Risky, but it could work. If we could prove that Anna had the motive, opportunity, and means to falsify the documents, as the security specialist she hired, Theo Carmen. Rose saw him loitering around the property recently, right?" "Yes, we think he was monitoring the hidden cameras. If we could get any proof directly connecting him to Anna and the forged documents." The idea was dangerous, but Victor saw no alternative. While they were discussing strategies, Marco received a message on his cell phone. "Anna is giving a press conference in front of the courthouse right now. She's publicly accusing you of hiding the girls from the justice system." Victor felt his stomach sink. Anna was playing all her cards, creating a public narrative in which he was the villain, the abusive father who was now kidnapping his own daughters. "We need to react," Aaron said, standing up. And fast. The strategy quickly took shape. Marco would use his contacts in the ministry to obtain Theo Carmen's location. Aaron would request an emergency hearing with the judge, presenting the videos found in the house. "And Victor, you need to stay off the radar until we resolve this," Aaron warned. "If you are seen, you will be detained under court order." "I can't just hide while Anna destroys my life and traumatizes my daughters," Victor protested. "It's not about hiding," Marco argued. "It's about waiting for the right moment to act." Reluctantly, Victor agreed. He settled into a small seaside inn, using a false name provided by Marco, while the makeshift team worked to dismantle Anna's plan. Late that afternoon, alone in his simple room overlooking the ocean, Victor felt more vulnerable than he had ever been in his entire diplomatic career. International negotiations, political crises, tensions between nations, nothing had prepared him for this personal war in which every move seemed to result in further losses. The phone rang. It was Rose. "The girls are fine," she assured him immediately. "Agnes is wonderful with them. But there's something you need to know." Victor held his breath, bracing himself for yet another twist. "Anna appeared on TV. She's saying that you assaulted her before kicking her out of the house, that you were always violent, but she endured it out of love for the girls." The lie was so absurd that Victor almost laughed. "Does she have any proof of that?" "Photographs, apparently of bruises." Victor closed his eyes, trying to process the information. "Fake, obviously, but they are making an impact. There are protesters in front of your house, Victor. Signs against domestic violence." The situation was deteriorating more rapidly than he had anticipated. Anna wasn't just attacking him legally. She was creating such strong public condemnation that even if he proved his innocence in court, his reputation would be permanently tarnished. "Rose, I need you to do something for me," she said, making a sudden decision. "Call the girls' school coordinator. Ask if they've done the drawings you mentioned to the psychologist." "Yes, they did it yesterday. Agnes showed me. They're disturbing, Victor. They clearly show what they suffered with Anna." "Perfect. I want you to photograph these drawings and send them to this number." Victor recited Marco's number. He'll know what to do. Meanwhile, in the city center, Marco had located Theo Carmin. The security specialist was staying at a luxury hotel, far beyond what his normal salary would allow. Circumstantial evidence of payment for questionable services. With the help of a contact in the federal police, Marco obtained a warrant to examine Theo's electronic devices. The justification: possible involvement in leaking official documents from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a serious enough accusation to warrant immediate action. When Theo returned to the hotel that night, he found 2 federal agents waiting for him in the lobby. His laptop and cell phone were seized, and he was taken in for questioning. The pieces were beginning to move. The truth, which Anna had tried to bury under layers of carefully constructed lies, was slowly emerging. But the question that tormented Victor as he watched the blood-red sunset over the ocean was, would he be quick enough to protect his daughters from the permanent damage this battle could cause? At Agnes's house, Olivia and Chiara sat in the small but well-kept garden, drawing silently. Their drawings, as always, were almost identical. A house by the sea, a man with open arms, and 2 girls walking towards him. Behind them, a female figure smiled. Not Anna, but Helena, observing the scene with silent approval. "Let's go back home, shall we?" Chiara asked her sister, without lifting her eyes from the drawing. Olivia, with the peculiar wisdom that sometimes emerged in children who had suffered beyond what their age should allow, nodded calmly. "Let's go," Dad promised. And for the first time in many months, they both fully believed in that promise. The coordinated strategy began to yield results the following morning. Marco showed up at the small inn where Victor was hiding, bringing the first good news in days. Theo's laptop contained everything, he announced, barely containing his excitement. Detailed emails from Anna explaining exactly how she wanted the forged documents, video editing programs, even a complete timeline of the operation against you. Victor, who had spent the night awake, felt a first glimmer of hope. Did he confess? Even better than that. When he realized he would be indicted as an accomplice in crimes against national security, Theo offered a deal. He is willing to testify against Anna, confirming that she orchestrated everything. It was the turning point they needed. With Theo cooperating, the hidden camera videos as proof of the psychological abuse against the girls, and the drawings documenting the trauma they had suffered, the case against Anna was rapidly gaining strength. "The judge has granted an emergency hearing for this afternoon," Marco continued. "Aaron believes he will be able to overturn the custody order today. And what about the accusations against me in the ministry? They've already been suspended. Technical analysis confirmed that the documents were falsified. You are officially exonerated." Victor closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the last few days finally begin to dissipate. "And Anna?" "She is being investigated for document forgery, slander, and defamation. When evidence of psychological abuse against the girls is presented, she will likely face additional charges." The hearing was scheduled for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Victor, accompanied by Felipe and Marco, entered the courthouse through the back door to avoid the press that was crowding at the main entrance. Anna was already there, seated with a composed expression, dressed soberly like a worried mother. Upon seeing Victor, her eyes flashed with momentary fury, quickly masked by an expression of studied fear. The judge, a middle-aged man with a stern expression, began promptly. "This hearing was convened to reassess the temporary custody order issued yesterday, in light of new evidence presented by the defense. Let's begin with Mr. Alliance's lawyer." Aaron stood up, holding a tablet. "Your Honor, I would like to present evidence demonstrating that Ms. Anna Limon not only made false accusations against my client, but also subjected Olivia and Chiara Alliance to systematic psychological abuse." One by one, the hidden camera videos were shown in the room. Even edited to show only the most relevant moments, the impact was undeniable. Scenes of Anna methodically destroying Helena's memories, isolating the twins, punishing them for mentioning their deceased mother, separating them as a form of control. Anna watched impassively, her expression unreadable. Only a slight tremor in her hands, clasped in her lap, revealed her discomfort. Next, Aaron presented the girls' drawings, somber images of a woman with a cruel expression, locked doors, and roses uprooted. The school psychologist will confirm that these drawings are consistent with children who have suffered emotional abuse, Aaron explained. Furthermore, we have a statement from Dr. Luca Carmen, who treated the girls for months and expressed concern about the negative influence of Ms. Limon. The judge examined the materials in silence, his expression gradually becoming more serious. Now, Aaron continued, I would like to call our first witness, Theo Carmen. A murmur ran through the room as Theo entered, escorted by a court officer. His pale face and restless eyes betrayed his discomfort at being there. For nearly an hour, Theo detailed how Anna had initially hired him to install security cameras in the house, then to remotely monitor the family's activities. Eventually, as her plan evolved, she requested services for document forgery and video manipulation. She told me she needed proof to protect herself from an abusive husband, Theo explained, avoiding direct eye contact with Victor or Anna. Only later did I realize I was fabricating false evidence. With each revelation, Anna's expression hardened. When her lawyer had the chance to cross-examine Theo, he tried to discredit him as a criminal, trying to save his own skin. But the damage was already done. The technical evidence recovered from Theo's laptop corroborated every element of his testimony. When the last testimony ended, a heavy silence filled the room. The judge removed his glasses and massaged the bridge of his nose, visibly affected by the evidence presented. Before making my decision, he announced, I would like to hear the final statement from Ms. Agnes Mendez, the girls' school coordinator. Agnes entered the room, her face expressing the seriousness of the situation. Her testimony was brief but devastating. She described how she had noticed the change in the twins' behavior after Anna's arrival, how they had become increasingly isolated, developing a private communication system that excluded everyone else. The girls I met 2 years ago were lively and sociable children, even after the loss of their mother. What I've seen in recent months is a frightening transformation into silence and fear, Agnes concluded. The judge finally stood up. Based on the evidence presented, I hereby revoke the temporary custody order in favor of Anna Limon. Custody of the minors Olivia and Chiara Alliance returns to their father. Victor Alliance effective immediately. Anna remained seated, motionless as a statue while the judge continued. Furthermore, I am issuing a restraining order against Ms. Limon, prohibiting any contact with the children or approaching the family's residence. The case will be forwarded to the public prosecutor's office for investigation of possible crimes of psychological abuse, document forgery and defamation. It was only when the officers approached that Anna finally reacted, her eyes fixed on Victor with an intensity that contained both hatred and an unspoken question. Why? His voice was just a whisper. I gave you the order you so desperately needed. Victor held her gaze. Order without love is not protection. Anna, it's prison. As she was escorted out, Victor felt a mixture of relief and sadness. He would never fully know what had motivated Anna to act so calculatingly. Perhaps a distorted desire to belong, to create her own version of the perfect family, erasing all traces of the previous one. 3 months later, the seaside house had been transformed. The once immaculately white walls now displayed colorful drawings. Photographs of Helena once again filled the shelves, alongside new memories being created. Victor had requested a temporary leave of absence from the ministry to dedicate himself fully to his daughters. Family therapy was helping the three of them rebuild the bonds weakened by absence and trauma. That spring morning, he watched the twins playing in the garden. The bed of white roses, which Anna had so detested, was blooming again, cultivated by Olivia and Chiara's small hands. "Daddy, look what we found," called Chiara, holding up a small shiny object. Victor approached and recognized the medallion Helena had always worn, a gift he had given her before the twins were born. Anna must have hidden it somewhere in the garden, unable to completely get rid of it. "It belonged to Mom," said Olivia, running her fingers over the polished surface. "Yes," Victor confirmed, feeling a wave of emotion that he didn't try to contain. "She would love to know that you found him." The girls exchanged glances, a silent communication that Victor was now beginning to understand. It wasn't a secret code of isolation, but a special bond that had helped them survive. "We know," Olivia replied seriously. "She told us." Victor didn't question it. He had learned to accept that certain mysteries didn't need explaining, only respecting. That night, as he tucked them into bed, Victor noticed something different. For the first time in a long time, the twins slept in separate beds, without the fear that had kept them clinging to each other as their only protection. "We're not alone anymore. Dad's here," Chiara explained simply when he expressed surprise. In the room he had once shared with Anna, Victor sat by the window contemplating the night sea. The found medallion rested in his palm, a tangible reminder that the past did not need to be erased for the future to be possible. On the other side of town, in a stark cell, Anna watched the same moon through a barred window. Her meticulous plan had crumbled, but in her mind she was still convinced of her vision. A family needed order, structure, control. One day she thought they would understand. But in the house by the sea, where the sound of the waves lulled the twins to sleep peacefully, a new understanding was already blossoming. True family was not built on control and perfection, but on memory, truth, and the courage to love despite imperfections and losses. Victor closed the window and, for the first time since Helena's departure, allowed himself to look to the future with genuine hope. The scars would remain, but now he knew that together they would find the path to healing. As for Olivia and Chiara, in their shared dreams that night, they walked hand in hand through a garden of white roses, guided by the luminous silhouette of a smiling woman, proud of her daughter's silent resistance, a resistance that had finally brought them back home. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Marco, Rose, and the twins Olivia and Chiara has touched your hearts. For more moving narratives like this, we've prepared a special playlist with stories of overcoming challenges and new beginnings. Find it by clicking the link on the left. If this journey of healing and family renewal touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Every day we bring you unique stories that explore the complexity of family bonds and the transformative power of true love. Share in the comments if you have witnessed or lived a story of family reconstruction. We look forward to reading your experiences.